I got news for you, leaders. Most of the answers that you are going to provide as a leader will not be 100% foolproof. They will not be 100% backed by data. You are going to have to make calls. Something that we talked about a few episodes ago was that as a leader, you have to be a discerning leader. And that discernment is required when you don't have all the answers.
Your body, your senses, read the room at a 1 billion bits per second. In your shoulders, your chest, your gut, that is your social intelligence engine. And most leaders aren't using it.
And we walked straight into a conference room when we closed the door. He's like, okay, I'm paying you for your pattern recognition. What did you see? And that kind of hit me because I'm like, wow, wait a minute. Because I never viewed it like that. But once he said that, that unlocked things for me. And I instantly trusted myself because he trusted me.
Every hiring mistake I ever made, I think that's still true. My gut was giving me information not to hire them, and I ignored my gut.
The hardest decisions you have to make as a leader will not be 100% backed by data. You'll have to make a call as a leader. And that's oftentimes why those decisions never get made and they just linger and slowly destroy a company because a leader's not willing to make that call.
Entry music. Da, 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 da. It's the Bob and Josh Show.
I'm going to guess that your most common response to when you have a problem, you go ask Claude or ChatGPT, what should I do? And then you dutifully go take that and put it into action. Bob came to me with a counter argument today about making sure as a leader you're trusting your gut and your intuition, which last I checked, LLMs aren't great at. So there's a little bit of, hey, you're still on your own. Making the hard calls are still hard. And sometimes you have to trust those things that are hard to put your finger on. So that's what today's topic is about. Bob has, guess what? An article that he's read that he's going to share with us. And that is going to spark our discussion today. So Bob, I hand it off to you with that wonderful intro.
Thank you, Joshua. And it's not I wrote an article. This is I read an article.
Yeah.
Which then I have another post that's going to go out there. Metacasters, the article it's by Dale Wilshire, woman, Dale, and she's a coach and a keynote speaker and an author, I believe. She talks about authentic presence and personality intelligence and things like that, emotional intelligence, so soft skills. The title of the article is Your Gut is a Great Leadership Tool. So she's not saying it's your only tool, but she's emphasizing that. I'm just going to read a little snippet. Your body, your senses, read the room at a 1 billion bits per second. In your shoulders, your chest, your gut, that is your social intelligence engine. And most leaders aren't using it. Social intelligence is reading what's happening in real time, the emotional undercurrents, the relational dynamics, the signal that tells you whether someone is being honest or just being polite. And I'll stop there. So what she's saying is it's not listening, it's not what's on the surface, it's literally what are you collecting. And you don't have to be quiet. You don't have to be sitting there in a room or in a conversation quietly. You're having a normal conversation. But if you've ever interviewed someone, on the Metacast, we've used this before, and I've interviewed people, and and other people. We had an interview team, and for some reason, I couldn't put my finger on it, and this is that sensing that's going on. Every question was answered well. I had gotten to the point where I desperately wanted to hire someone. And I didn't want to wait necessarily. And this person ticked all the obvious boxes and did it with the entire team. Right? So everyone was like really bullish. But my gut was telling, I had something in my gut that was telling me not to hire them. That there was something hidden and wrong. And I've said this years ago in the Metacast a few times. Every hiring mistake I ever made, I think that's still true. My gut was giving me information not to hire them, and I ignored my gut. And I ignored it because it wasn't analytical. It wasn't scientific. I couldn't defend it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
How I talked to HR. We're not going to hire Josh because my gut, I'm not comfortable in my gut.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not going to have that conversation. Right. It's a really amorphous conversation to have, because everything else, all the other data is much more valuable. We consider this much more analytical and valuable than the intangibles. Your gut, your sensing. But every time I ignored my gut, so in a few cases, I made a just like a terrible hiring decision that was really terrible, hard to unwind later on, and I unwound it, but it was just painful to unwind it. So that's what Dale's sort of talking about, and I think she's making 2 points. These are some situations of how do you start doing that. And she wants us to grow in the analysis of that side of things. She wants us to grow in trusting it and bringing it in more into our leadership guidance and decision making. Not just with people, with products as well. Interacting if you're doing an acquisition and you're assessing another company, and all kinds of interactions. What are they telling you? But what is your gut telling you? Josh, any reactions?
I align with you very much in that many of the hiring decisions that I made that backfired, there was something telling me, don't do this, but I couldn't wrap words around it in a data-driven way in the world that we're in. And so those were lessons that I learned. And to me, the thing that struck me as you were talking about the topic is we talk about learning to trust that, but it's scary to trust that because it feels, and I think it is, blind faith at that point, because you can't put words around it. You can't say, Bob, we're not going to hire Jimmy because of X, Y, and Z. You're just saying like, this doesn't feel right. I don't think we should hire them. And then Bob asks me why. I'm like, I don't know. Doesn't feel right. And early in your career, that's a lot more terrifying. Whereas as you get further on in your career, you are granted with some more agency there, in that you've had more laps around the block and you've seen more things. You've made hundreds of hires, and your like spidey senses can go off, and people will respect them in more seasoned leaders than in newer leaders. And that was always a hard thing. And I battled that both personally and the times when I did want to trust my gut, but I was surrounded by other people and I had to convince them that we should trust my gut. And that's a difficult and scary thing. So I think what she's talking about encouraging people to lean into that and to begin to try and trust and verify. And part of learning to trust it is you have to get some swings, right? You have to at least try. Otherwise, you never know, and you're never going to start to trust your gut or whatever intuition, whatever the right words are there. But that's the initial hurdle, is that first time of like, this doesn't feel right, and I don't know how to wrap words around it. But you got to trust yourself, and you got to convince the rest of the organization to trust yourself, which is scary.
Absolutely. I think there's a separation part that she's alluding to. And Metacasters, remember, this is one article. I'm not an expert. I'm not an academic, trying to convince you to do something. But I think there's something to it. She's trying to separate analytical mind from intuitive mind. And we lean into our analytical mind. But we have an intuitive mind. Very often the reference is to our body. Our body has knowledge. I know that may sound a little odd, but it's really, your body has knowledge. It's subconscious. So part of the intuitive would be your subconscious, your learned experiences under the covers, your observation of patterns. So part of Part of intuitive would be pattern recognition, where you're looking at subtle. This is not analytical pattern recognition. This is embodied pattern recognition, where you're sensing, you've seen this in the room. You've seen these dynamics in the room. You've seen someone snicker at someone else, or you've seen people, sort of make eye contact different ways. And it says they're engaged or disengaged. They said that they're respectful or they're not respectful. I'm just using these binary terms. And your body knows that. And if you check in with it, and if you start, and it's not only, so one of her premises is that if you practice this more, you'll get more specific feedback. Like you'll go from don't hire this person to don't hire this person, they are socially inept or something. Mm-hmm. Or don't hire this person, they can't be trusted, they're lying to you. If that, right, you'll get a slightly more specific, you're still on the intuitive side, but you'll start narrowing the intuition so that it makes more sense to you. Let me read a little snippet from it. That was the first time, she's referencing a book she read. So that was the first time I saw intuition presented as evidence. The idea that in social situations, your body reads patterns more accurately than your analytical mind. So I started paying attention to what I felt before I could explain it. I stopped dismissing the signal just because I couldn't yet defend it, which is where a lot of us are. We're very dismissive. We're dismissive at the beginning, or we're dismissive very quickly. And slowly, I got better at trusting what my body already knew. That's this intuitive knowledge side of things. We're not tapping into, like we have a, pun intended, we have a body of knowledge, right? We have an analytical body of knowledge, but we also have an intuitive body of knowledge that we rarely tap into. It's subtle. It's different than the analytical. It's not data, or it's data, but it's this sort of hidden observational, like pattern-based. So I got better at trusting what my body already knew, which it turns out was also getting better at trusting myself. So social intelligence, and this, from an emotional intelligence point of view, this goes into social intelligence. This is like reading the room. If you go into it's an after-work party, Josh, mm-hmm. or an all-hands meeting that has a little party afterwards or something like that, and you can read what's going on in the room, where there's positive energy, where there's negative energy, where people are getting toasted or not. You get a sense, sort of the emotion, the energy. You can scan, I want to be I probably don't want to go there. I want to go here. It's that same thing. It's that social intelligence.
Yeah, and unlock for me, as I started my consulting company, however many years ago, client number 2 hired me, and we came out of a large group meeting where we were driving a transformation within an organization. They were moving from waterfall to agile. So this was, probably a decade or so ago. And we came out of a meeting, and I wasn't viewing the world like this, but my client who hired me, we walked out of there and we walked straight into a conference room and we closed the door. He's like, okay, I'm paying you for your pattern recognition. What did you see? And that kind of hit me because I'm like, wow, wait a minute. Because I never viewed it like that. But once he said that, that unlocked things for me. And I instantly trusted myself because he trusted me. He had hired me. We had worked together for a month or so at that point, and I had proven myself, and he trusted me, and he knew my background. So just him providing that little bit of, this is why I hired you, what did you see? That changed things for me from that moment onward, where I started to say, wait a minute, let me replay my history. Let me replay the times when I did listen to my gut and when I didn't. And my gut was right. Maybe this guy is right. Maybe my pattern recognition is good and I should pay more attention to it. And I started doing that, and that really helped us be very successful. It helped me in my career as well, but it was that I had this instant boost in trusting myself because of something someone said to me, and they empowered me with it, and then I leaned into it. And that was a game changer when he directly said, we're paying you for the patterns you've seen, and what patterns did you just see in that meeting room, and how should we react? And again, it knocked me back a little bit because I wasn't ready for it. But then once I leaned into it, it was like, oh, this works. This is good. And we crushed it. And we ended up, selling the company for a couple $1 billion because of the work that we did. So yeah, I've lived through that, and I got a crash course in it.
Exactly, Metacasters. Case in point, Josh, that you couldn't have. I mean, I love the story. That's exactly the point. I didn't realize. I think you've told that to me before.
Yeah.
But it didn't. That's exactly the point. In fact, here I'm going to read another. I hope you don't mind me reading these little snippets. And here's a simple. This is later on. She talks about it. And here's a simple way to start building that muscle. Give yourself 60 seconds after every significant conversation. Before you check your phone, before you move to the next thing, ask just one question. Not what was said, not what do I need to do next, just what did I feel in there? She said, that window closes fast. Your analytical brain kicks in quickly and starts rewriting the story. But if you catch it first, even one observation, one word, you've started training a different kind of attention, a more honest one. That's exactly what you did. If you guys would have waited half an hour, you probably would have lost it, if that makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. Right? That man, whoever that was wiser than Bob Galen. I can't even imagine I said that.
Wow.
But I know. He was incredibly wise.
Yes, he was a fantastic person to work with.
Absolutely.
So the thing that I want to challenge viewers and listeners with is that requires being present.
Yes.
And that is a vanishing thing these days with all of the inputs and air quote multitasking that people try and do. You have to be present in that moment, and you have to allow your body to listen and focus on what's happening in that room and trust it. And that's where things have gotten harder these days with remote teams and remote organizations. It's harder to read a virtual room than it is a physical room. Like if you put me in a room with 50 people and we have a discussion, I'm going to walk out of there with much more clarity in how it landed, how people felt, what the engagement was, and everything that goes along with that. When you're leading a large org and everybody's on Zoom or Google Meets or whatever it is, and your screen can only show like 5 windows, but you have a 30-person team, it's hard to read the room when you see 5 people. So that's a challenge where it's gotten harder for leaders in this space. That doesn't excuse you from not trusting your gut, but it is a bit more challenging because it's harder to be present in a virtual world.
I'm going to say yes, and Josh, and it's a beautiful point, but it's not impossible. It's harder, but it's not too hard.
Right.
I've done, as you were talking, I flashed back to another thing I used to do, and now I realize it was my gut feelings coming through. As part of my pre-sales process as an Agile coach, I would do an Ask Me Anything. So the first thing I would offer a potential client was like a 1 hour to 3 hour Ask Me Anything. And the premise was invite whoever you want. And it would usually be team members, some middle management, some senior management. I did one with, I think the max one time was 300 people or something like that. It was usually virtual, but I've done them in person as well. Part of it would be with this huge group, and then sometimes there would be a secondary with just the leadership team. And I would get a lot of questions. So in Ask Me Anything, Metacasters is just ask questions and you respond and you agree, you disagree. There's tension in the room sometimes. The client might be in the middle of an Agile transformation, so they might like some of the things you're saying, and they might not like some of the things or recommendations you're making, etc. But the reason I would do it is, one, to allow them to get to know me, because I'm not everyone's cup of tea. Josh will tell you that, right? So I'm a unique cup of tea. Second thing is I wanted to get a sense for them.
Right.
And the thing I got, I got tremendous sensing, and I used to think of it as data collection or something, but it wasn't. I was leveraging my sensing, the sensing side of my mind in that, because I would, like I would be reading, even virtually, I would, a team member was over here and they'd ask a question, they were complaining about something, and I'd see managers over here and they'd respond and answer for, or whatever. You'd see these interactions going on. And I could get a sense for safety. I could get a sense for agile maturity. I could get a sense for leadership dynamics. I could get a sense for open-mindedness. And one of the things I walked out of there with is, do I want to work with these? Maybe the number one question I worked out is would these be can I help them, and would I want to work with them? And it was much more of a sense. There was data. If I decided to work with them and I made a quote, I could convert this sensing to data to do the quote. But at the same time, the cloud was more so, what is my body telling me and what am I sensing? When I ignored it, again, it goes back to twice I ignored it because they threw money at me, right? So I overreacted to the money. Sorry about that. And those engagements were disasters. So I ignored, again, it's like the hiring thing. When I ignored what my sensing was telling me, I had a disastrous outcome.
And the reason I opened with AI is that it's easier in the LLM powered world that we're evolving through. I wouldn't say that we're evolving through, to turn off that part of your brain.
Yeah.
And to try and feed data to a model to get an answer back, to get a concrete answer back. And I got news for you, leaders. Most of the answers that you are going to provide as a leader will not be 100% foolproof. They will not be 100% backed by data. You are going to have to make calls. Something that we talked about a few episodes ago was that as a leader, you have to be a discerning leader. And that discernment is required when you don't have all the answers. And the LLM is going to be able to give you all the answers, no matter how good your prompt is, no matter how much data you give it, no matter how many models you train it on. There's still nuance in the real world. And that's one of the things that I want all of our leaders to make sure that you're trusting that nuance and that life experience that you, your partners, your boss, whatever it is, has, that you guys can have a discussion, and your solution you walk out of there with is going to be pretty darn good if you start trusting intuition and gut, which cannot be found in a large language model.
Exactly. It's not there. It will probably never be there, right? Or at least in the near to midterm.
Right.
You use the term, I love the fact that you connect it back to discernment, Josh, because I think discernment is gut.
Right.
Discernment is not data. When I say discernment, it's not looking at spreadsheets or looking at data and making data-driven decision making. There's nothing wrong with that, and do that. Discernment is directly related to your gut. It's directly related to this alternative sensing, this reading your body, and what is my body telling me, right? What is that side of my intelligence telling me?
Yeah, I think you made a really great point of all the data-driven choices. Yes, if you have the data and the data is clear and it's telling you the answer is Z, go with it. But what I want to make sure that all of you that are watching and listening know and understand is the hardest decisions you have to make as a leader will not be 100% backed by data. You'll have to make a call as a leader. And that's oftentimes why those decisions never get made and they just linger and slowly destroy a company, because a leader's not willing to make that call. But that's what you need to do, is gather as much data as you can, but there's never going to be enough data for you to make that really important decision for your company. Strategic direction, a key hire, working with a customer, or saying no to a customer, something like that, where there's never going to be enough data for you to walk out of there saying the answer is Z every time, no matter what. It's never going to be like that. You as a leader have to make the call. And so part of that is trusting your gut and being willing to lean into that. And so that's what today's episode is really about.
I want to land with I'm going to disagree with something you said first, Josh.
Okay, bring it on.
No, it's not a big disagreement. It's because I think you softened it. But if you have 100% data decide, I would say no. If you have 1% data to 100% data, fantastic. Now stop and then ask your gut. Check in with your body before you make a decision. What is your body telling you? Start getting into the practice of always checking in with your intuition. Well, it doesn't cost. What does it cost you?
Right.
It doesn't cost you much. Now you want to do it early, maybe right after you have a discussion with the board or a discussion with your team or something. You don't want to wait because you lose it. But you want to check in with your body, with your intuition, with your gut, as part of it. As part of it. The data is 100%. But what's your gut saying? And if your gut is fine, if you're not getting anything from your gut, go with it. But if your gut is going, no, don't do it, then recheck your data, my friends.
Yeah.
Recheck whoever produced the data just for a second. Depending on the weight of that decision, you might want to check with it. So that's just a nuance. The other thing you're doing is you're building that muscle.
Right.
You're just building that muscle. You're building that habit in yourself, and it doesn't cost you anything. Here's where she. This is the end of her article. She says, because leaders who can read a room, not just hear it, are the ones who catch what everyone else misses. They address the thing that wasn't said before it becomes the thing that derails everything. And they do it from a place of genuine presence. Everyone noticed Josh said presence earlier, not just sharp analysis. Your nervous system has been reading rooms for years. Trust it. Name what it tells you. That's where real leadership lives.
There you go.
What do you think, Josh? Stick a fork?
I think so. Get that big old fork.
All right. Hey, everyone. From beautiful downtown Cary, North Carolina.
And beautiful downtown Fuquay, Verena, North Carolina.
I'm Bob Intuitive Galen.
And I'm Josh, even more intuitive Anderson.
Yeah.
Shake and bake.
Check your guts, my friends.